I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and comfortable that I got screamed at and I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor. This is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there just breaking. This happens. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back. And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." It's the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again." And then I remember the producers came up and said, "You can't do this to number one. We have to let this person be on set." And I said, "But the person can turn around and I can act to the back head."
Industry insiders and former collaborators are coming forward in growing numbers, accusing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds of orchestrating what some are calling a long-running pattern of manipulation, credit stealing, and influence-based misconduct. Sources connected to the production of Deadpool and Wolverine claim Reynolds exercised excessive control on set, allegedly shutting down any ideas that didn't align with his vision. What he labeled collaboration is being described by crew members as a rigid my way or the highway dynamic. Fans have begun criticizing what they view as unchecked ego and performative charm. Blake Lively isn't escaping scrutiny either. Questions have resurfaced over how she earned an executive producer credit on The Husband's Secret, a move many insiders say appeared out of thin air. Independent designers, some dating back to 2014, accuse her of copying their concepts, ghosting them afterward, and taking public credit. Their long-cultivated perfect couple brand, once seen as aspirational, is suddenly under intense pressure. Some observers are even joking that if Netflix announced a true crime docuseries about them, no one would be shocked. Behind the glossy Instagram posts and carefully curated interviews, insiders claim the Lively-Reynolds partnership has been powered less by romance and more by PR strategy, brand deals, and influence politics. Allegations of stolen ideas, broken promises, and manipulative behavior are piling up fast, especially in connection with their feud with Justin Baldoni. Former friends, creatives, and colleagues are now sharing messages, receipts, and timelines that challenge the wholesome narrative the couple has maintained for years. Critics point back to 2014 and the launch of Preserve, Lively's lifestyle website that sold pricey rustic goods and handmade decor. Despite positioning it as an artistic platform, many saw it as unfocused and overpriced. The brand shut down in 2015 after just over a year. Publicly, Blake claimed the venture was simply ahead of its time. But behind closed doors, small creators alleged she placed fake sample orders, replicated their work, and vanished without acknowledgement or credit. In 2017, during development of The Husband's Secret, an indie writer claimed the film bore striking similarities to a script that had been circulating before Lively's involvement. Major outlets never picked up the story, but curiosity grew when an old interview resurfaced where Blake openly bragged about taking control of other people's projects. Documents also confirmed she didn't just star in the film, she somehow secured an executive producer title, a role many argue reflected power, not actual creative contribution. This pattern has fed public suspicion that Blake routinely profits from the work of others while controlling the narrative. The tension reportedly extends back to her Gossip Girl days. Multiple insiders claim Blake actively badmouthed co-star Penn Badgley, isolating him from the cast until others realized he wasn't the problem. Although the two later dated for 3 years, people close to the show believe Penn's career faltered after Blake moved on to Ryan Reynolds. A similar situation is being whispered about Justin Baldoni. After alleged leaked messages between Blake and Justin surfaced, rumors swirled that Blake developed personal feelings he didn't reciprocate. Not long after, fractures started appearing between her and other It Ends With Us collaborators, including Brandon Sklenar and even author Colleen Hoover, who have reportedly been keeping their distance. Even her on-screen best friend from Gossip Girl, Leighton Meester, was allegedly dealing with a cold and competitive relationship off-camera, in direct contrast to their characters' close bond.
Article recently saying that Leighton and I were frenemies. And it's
frenemies. Is that the new term? Frenemies?
Yeah, we're friends, but we're also enemies. And it's they see our characters on the show, and they want that to be true in a sense. I think they want everybody's characters in real life to emulate that. And it's really strange because they always want to pit women against each other. You don't hear about like Penn and Chase hating each other and being jealous and competitive. So it's very silly, but we all do get along.
If there's one thing Blake has mastered, it's knowing when to lean into the gender card to protect her image. Executive producer Joshua Safran has hinted that while Blake and Leighton Meester maintained the appearance of friendship on Gossip Girl, the truth behind the scenes was far less friendly. In Hollywood, that usually means serious tension. And honestly, anyone who's watched their old interview clips can feel it: stiff smiles, clipped replies, zero warmth. The discomfort was practically radiating off the screen.
When you're watching a show, that there's not an obvious choice between good and evil. So she would seem like the obvious choice, but she's also got, flaws as well. But I think I'm just brunette because of the books.
And everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway.
Over there.
Moment by me.
Then there's Armie Hammer, who played Gabriel on Gossip Girl. He never directly called Blake out by name, but his sudden departure spoke volumes. He hinted that something behind the scenes pushed him to leave early, and the unspoken implication has always pointed back to Blake. There was no public drama, no loud fallout, just a quiet exit that raised a lot of eyebrows.
Let me just say, that was a tough show to film, and I didn't end up actually filming all of the episodes I was supposed to because it was such a tough film.
Really? Literally, you said, get me out of this.
It was also like, get him out of here. Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah.
So it just literally was that. Whose love interest were you?
I was Blake Lively's love interest.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Sounds like she was the problem.
It sure does.
And Blake's diva moments. At this point, they're practically a genre of their own. Her feud with Anna Kendrick during the press tour for A Simple Favor deserves its own documentary. What should have been light promo turned into a subtle but icy standoff. The tension was so thick you could have cut it with a butter knife. Fans weren't guessing, they felt the awkwardness instantly.
Like a few times through Ryan on that film. And thought she seemed nice, and little did I know.
Yeah. Look at the body language experts analyzing this right now. How quickly do you...
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
According to one of the producers, Blake was nearly impossible to work with during A Simple Favor. And in classic fashion, when things got messy, she spun the blame, accusing Anna Kendrick of trying to overshadow her during press. The public reaction? A massive eye roll. The insecurity was louder than any statement she made. And believe it or not, this isn't even the peak of it. Blake's receipts go back years, and the pile just keeps getting taller. But let's not pretend Ryan Reynolds is sitting quietly in the corner. His so-called nice guy persona is starting to crack too. Behind the rom-com grin are whispers of quiet power grabs and behind-the-scenes manipulation. And now, people who've stayed silent for years are finally ready to talk. Let's start with Tim Miller, the original director of Deadpool. He's gone on record saying he walked away specifically because of Ryan. So if you still think Ryan is just the goofy, lovable guy he plays on camera, think again. Tim describes Ryan as someone who hijacked the creative process. According to him, Reynolds treated Deadpool like his personal playground, sidelining Tim as if he were just an assistant. Every choice, tone, script, scenes had to go through Ryan. And the minute Tim pushed back, he was hit with the classic my way or the highway treatment. Eventually, Tim tapped out. In an interview with Mental Health magazine, he said, "I don't mind having a debate, but if I can't win, I don't want to play," and added that you simply can't negotiate every creative decision. Translation? Ryan wasn't budging, and Tim knew the fight was pointless. As the face of the franchise with Hollywood backing him, Ryan got exactly what he wanted, and Tim got out before wasting more time. And Tim wasn't the only one. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in Deadpool, didn't just exit quietly. He made it very clear why he was done working with Ryan Reynolds, and trust me, his side of the story is no love letter. If there's one person who never holds back, it's TJ Miller. Unlike Tim Miller, who bowed out of Deadpool quietly, TJ left with the volume turned all the way up. He said flat out that he'd rather walk away from a massive paycheck than work with Ryan Reynolds again, because, in his words, the disrespect was blatant, not playful or joking. There were no inside jabs or friendly teasing, just public humiliation.
It was like, why is Ryan doing this? And the other weird thing is like, maybe he got, I think he's kind of an insecure dude. He's really nice, but I mean, his Twitter bio is showing you the parts of me that tested the best in focus groups. And I'm not sure that he's joking. I think after he got super, super famous from the first Deadpool, then things kind of changed. I think he was like, see, you guys see. And then I think I don't know. I mean, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
that
again.
much.
And the craziest part? TJ says he never even knew what triggered it. He was a supporting character, not a rival, so why the hostility? Eventually, he realized the answer was simple: ego. Ryan needed everyone to remember who the star was, and if that meant stepping on others, so be it. And if you think Ryan only clashed with his male co-stars, think again. Morena Baccarin, who played Vanessa, the female lead in the first Deadpool, was practically erased by the sequel. Insiders say that wasn't a creative coincidence. Their working relationship reportedly fell apart behind the scenes, and when things went south, Morena was quietly shut out. Whether she spoke up about a joke, questioned her screen time, or simply pushed back, it was game over. When Deadpool and Wolverine promos dropped, she was invisible. At the big premiere, she arrived alone while the rest of the cast clustered around Ryan. That silence. Deafening. And honestly, the vibes were straight out of the It Ends With Us playbook: power couples run the room, and anyone who drifts out of line gets iced. But the stories don't stop with Hollywood insiders. Even reality stars have receipts. When the Jersey Shore cast appeared on Watch What Happens Live, Andy Cohen asked the classic question, "Who's the rudest celebrity you've ever met?" Most people dodge it, but not this crew. Sammy Sweetheart tried to play it safe, but Dina blurted out Ryan Reynolds' name instantly. She tried to soften the blow, saying, "He wasn't great to us, but I still love Ryan and Blake," but by then, the damage was already done. Sammy tried to brush it off as a bad day, but clearly, the nice guy act doesn't land with everyone. And it's not just veteran actors or reality stars. Even A-listers have said enough without saying the name. Take Rebecca Ferguson. She shared a story about a nightmare co-star who couldn't remember their lines, then took their frustration out on her, screaming that she was a terrible actress in front of the crew. She said she'd gone home crying multiple times, until one day she snapped and told them to get off her set. She even said she'd rather act with a tennis ball than deal with their behavior. After the interview blew up, other actors, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, showed public support. Rebecca clarified it wasn't Tom Cruise or Hugh Jackman, and fans did the math. Given Ryan's growing reputation, a lot of people connected the dots. Even Ryan's former Hollywood bros are keeping their distance. Remember how he and Jake Gyllenhaal were inseparable after Life? Interviews, inside jokes, red carpets, full bromance energy. Now, radio silence. And knowing how private Jake is, the fact that he's actively staying away says a lot. At this point, Ryan's resume is littered with red flags. Directors, producers, co-stars, so many have quietly stepped back, and it all tracks with his on-set reputation, steamrolling creative input, dominating decisions, and turning every project into the Ryan Show. Even Quentin Tarantino threw shade without naming him. When talking about forgettable Netflix movies, he said, "I'm not picking on anybody, but apparently Ryan Reynolds has made $50 million for this movie and $50 million for that one. I don't even know what those movies are. I haven't seen them." Then he added that those films don't exist in the cultural zeitgeist, they're just there. If Tarantino is side-eyeing your career, that's not a small blow. And then there was the attempted Home Alone reboot. Yes, Ryan reportedly tried to remake it as a stoner comedy called Stoned Alone. Chris Columbus, who directed the original, was livid. He called the idea flat-out disrespectful and said Ryan should go rewatch the classic. Brutal. Even Gerard Butler wasn't subtle. When someone compared his movie Gamer to Ryan's Free Guy, he shut it down immediately. "I don't watch Ryan Reynolds movies." No sugarcoating, no follow-up. Just that. And the chaos doesn't end at work, it's bled into his past relationships too. His marriage to Scarlett Johansson ended right as her career exploded with Marvel. Scarlett once said, "There's always a more successful person in a marriage," and implied that Ryan didn't handle being second very well. The insecurity checks out, especially with the stories piling up. So at some point, you have to ask, if co-stars, directors, exes, reality stars, and industry veterans are all telling similar stories, can they all be wrong? One thing's clear, Blake and Ryan may look picture perfect from the outside, but behind the scenes, it's chaos. The cracks are spreading, the patterns are repeating, and this time, Hollywood isn't pretending not to see it.